can't believe that people will one day come to a point where they would pay money to watch AI actors, an AI 90-minute feature of just nothing but AI actors.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that,
I think
Tilly Norwood, this was in the Reporter. Tilly Norwood AI studio hires former Amazon exec in rapid expansion and sets launch of multi-character Tillyverse. This is from 2 days ago.
I don't know.
Is this a press release regurgitated as news? Just some announcement? I don't see this. This person is a manufactured. I mean, literally something manufactured.
I mean, anybody can. Yeah, there's nothing. You know, the unique thing about Brad Pitt, say, or Tom Cruise, or something like this, is that there's only one of them. You can't just put in a prompt and come up with another one. I mean, this person has to be born, you know what I mean, and cultivated, and et cetera, et cetera. So there's nothing unique about this AI object.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look, it's common knowledge that it's very widespread on Instagram and TikTok, these like AI objects that are influencers. And some people who follow them know, some people don't know, but the people that know, I guess they don't care. So no, I think it's actually, oh, look at my brother down there. I think it's a little naive.
He's on the there he is, a Hollywood Reporter. There he is.
I think people will, for two reasons, people will watch AI objects. The first one is they've really been, the audience unfortunately has been, because of all the second screen stuff and projects that don't have a lot of care taken with them, they've trained the audience to just absorb kind of background music kinds of projects. Right. So I don't know how much they're really going to notice. And this is not all the audience, but just like, you know, if you just like generally speaking. And the second reason is this isn't a film audience from 1970, used to watching 1970s films and looking at 1970s faces. This is an audience that's been looking at filters, social media filters, and plastic surgery for a long time now. Yeah. So when you show them something like this AI object or any other, it doesn't seem so far away from a real person because they're so accustomed now to seeing unreal people. Like some of the plastic surgery I'm seeing now, and like there seems to be a resurgence. You know, people are like, oh, so-and-so stuns in new pictures of, and you're like, wow, they got more plastic surgery. And I don't even think they look like younger versions of themselves or anything. They look like they're now looking like AI versions of themselves. So when you have real people walking around with kind of AI faces, it's just half a step to an audience watching a film or something with AI objects throughout the entire thing. And by the way, there's a lot I could show you that where you can't tell the difference. I mean, I can't tell the difference on some of it, and I'm looking for it.
So they're trying to almost look like the Instagram filter version of themselves,
sure,
in a way.
Yeah. And they have,
sad.
you know, the first batch of them, of course, was the Will, I'm blanking on his name. Anyway, the spaghetti, right? That was like the first version. And then we had the better version, but people were like, oh, they seem kind of wooden, but sometimes you can't tell. And now, you know, these new versions, they've got all the, you know, all these like little human ways we move our head and squint our eyes. And it's such a mockery. It's such a mockery of human beings. But you can't tell now. I mean, haven't you ever seen these demos side by side?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's shocking.
Like, pick which one. And I always pick the wrong one.
Yeah, it's kind of sad. We're seeing the worst of it now.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of
But
questions.
whatever. Yeah, it's going to happen. It's going to make a lot of things really miserable, and in all sectors. It's not just in film. And unfortunately, there are too many people who, when told about a hot stove, need to melt all the skin off their hand before they go, yeah, this isn't
The only way
good
they'll
for us.
learn. Yeah.
This isn't good for us. I can see a stove at a distance and go, I can tell you where this is going to go. And that's what I was doing 3 years ago. I was like, I can tell you where this is going to go. And it's happening. I don't want to sound glib about the number of jobs, but I've gone through like mourning periods for my own business, and my own film business, and not for me personally. Like I've got like 3 films going right now. Like it's never been better for me. So anyway, I don't mean to sound glib about, the lack of work that's happening now at all. I think it's horrible. And I think the executives that have capitulated the financial structure of this business, and the theater window and all this, I think they will, maybe it won't happen till the day they die, but they are going to understand what they did. When they had the football, they sold the football field.
Yeah.
For nothing. So I think it's horrible. I think it's horrible what's happened. I think it's horrible what's happened, particularly to the crew members in our business. But I've gone through a lot of mourning over this, and now I just have to the only way I can get through the rest of this, because it's going to get worse, is just kind of laugh about it and just do my thing, and anybody else who wants to work on non-AI films, that go beyond what's expected, where you can really make something new, can come work with me. And that's all I can do. I don't have control over all these other people.
We hear that sentiment a lot. We do a kind of a debate show on Mondays, and whenever we talk about AI, it's the statement always being made is you can't put the genie back in the bottle. That it's just it's too late. It's gone out too far, and we're just gonna have to accept it.
Well, you know what it is. What it is too is it's not like AI has jumped out of the bottle like it's some virus, and it's out there, and it's permeating all these people's personal spaces, and it's infecting them. It doesn't operate on its own. What you can't put back in the bottle is the laziness and the greed of people. And that's why it's being utilized. It's not being utilized because it makes films better. That's a bunch of bullshit. Anybody who says that is absolutely 100% full of shit. When they say, oh, because it's makes it, films have gotten so expensive, it makes it so we can afford to make the films. Films can be expensive, but you can make you name me a film that was expensive. You could have made that for half of that money. I would tell you, I've had to make projects for half of what I planned on spending, and it's doable. So maybe everybody just has to take a little haircut, Maybe you're not going to spend $100 million on that film. Maybe you're going to do it for 50.
Well, I'd like to see a return to these lower budget movies. We're kind of missing these mid-level and lower level projects.
That's true, Chris. And guess what? This was what you just said. That was the start of the demise of the film business's focus. Okay, so if we go back 15 years, right? Social media started, and all the studios were scared, I guess. And they were doing comic book movie after comic book movie. There's nothing wrong with the types of films I'm about to say. Mm-hmm. Comic book movies, sequels, reboots, but in proportion to have smaller amounts of them in relation to the total number of films that are being released. Unfortunately, it became 80% of what was being released. And they stopped doing all those, rom-com, like $30 million, say 20 to $40 million rom-coms and comedies and dramas and everything. They just they went for the big ones, because if you're going to think about it, if you got to promote 5 films that cost $10 million a piece or $20 million a piece, that's 5 efforts, right? And maybe those films all make double or triple what they cost, but that total in profits does not compare to making an effort for a $100 million film, and it makes $200 million. Now you've just, there's a lot of expenses in between there, but just for the sake of argument, let's say you just made $100 million, but you only had to make the promotional effort for 1 film.
Yeah.
Versus 5 films and you make $100 million or less, even though they made double, triple what they cost. Okay, so you've got that element. So they did that. And then what the streamers did is they did like they did a version of predatory pricing. Predatory pricing, you come in, you undercut everybody, you ruin your competition, they go away, and as soon as the competition goes away, you raise your prices to whatever you want. Okay, predatory pricing. They did a kind of predatory pricing where they came in and they were like, oh, they're not doing these mid-range films anymore, so let's get behind Manchester by the Sea and films like this. And for a minute there, it seemed like a relief, right? Oh, streamers are coming. Oh, this is great. And then when you think about it, they don't have the overhead of P&A to the extent that studios do, releasing it in theaters. They can just put it on their website, right? So they did that. And it got rid of a lot of like kind of mid-range companies that were trying to do that sort of thing. And it certainly made the studios a little flabbier, right? Like they're like, okay, well, they're picking up that slack. And then as soon as they like sort of got rid of kind of anybody trying to focus on that level of film and that level of budget, then they just started and also they're tech companies, they're not film companies. So they're focused on scaling, want to scale internationally. So then they started doing the churning out of content, like making like kind of a lot of kind of straight to DVD types of films, which are, you don't have any expectations the audience is going to respond at all, but it's just stuff to get out there. And that sucked. That was a real like, pulling the rug out of everyone, because it wasn't ever their intention to make great films for the film business.
It's just disheartening to see so many of the mistakes of the industry being unforced errors. The mistakes
unforced errors.
Yeah, they did it to themselves. So
yeah,
in addition to whole completely separate topic from AI, alienating kind of half of America.
Yeah, that's
I will just say this, by choosing a side, right? I mean, entertainment industry, and people are all alarmist now about Paramount being, I don't think Paramount is necessarily Republican or right leaning. I see them more as like sort of just middle of the road. They have very progressive programming, stuff that doesn't take a side. I think Hollywood, by choosing one side of the aisle, lost 50% of the audience.
Yeah. Now this was another thing that started happening like, maybe 10 years ago, 10 years ago, or like around the same time, is exactly what you're saying. And it's so uncharacteristic of Hollywood. Hollywood's DNA is risk taking. I mean, you got a bunch of people who, except for executives that have like some sort of ironclad contract, like you don't know what kind of money you're going to make this year. You don't fucking know.
Yeah.
You don't know what kind of money you're going to make next year. It could be $20. It could be $2 million. Like you're in one of the most personally financially unstable types of careers to have. Okay. And so there's that kind of risk taking, people they're willing to take that risk. The other risk taking is just on like your idea, just creatively, like you're making something out of nothing. You're putting like a kind of a story together, a world together, or whatever, and you're putting it out there. Like you're taking a risk with that too. Yeah. And the other characteristic that is like the kind of daredevil kind of DNA for the film business is perceiving what is missing in society and then jumping in right there, saying, well, we're going to give you that. Does everybody seem sad? You guys are missing comedy. We're going to give you comedy. They stopped. So with the risk taking, they stopped doing the risk taking because they got scared. And I think they got scared because of social media. Because social media, you could have like the 1,000 noisiest people on social media. We're starting to bring people down, right?
Yeah.
Or bring a company down, or we're doing a boycott or whatever. It's so easy for a small group of people to organize like that. And Hollywood reacted like a corporation instead of like filmmakers. And they pull way back and they're like, okay, well, we don't want to be like, Oscar so white or this or that or whatever it was, right? We don't want to be a shaming we don't want a shaming hashtag attack to occur on us. So we will make films that will check all the boxes. We will make sure we are attending to this group that has been very loud, or this group, or this group, or this group, or this group. And the film business has always made films about different groups and,
Yeah.
But what started happening, it was almost like making a great film was mutually exclusive with doing it about some kind of cause you care about.
Mm-hmm.
And you started seeing films just being thrown out there that weren't very good. I mean, fine, you want to make a film about a one-legged albino girls had two gay mommies and whatever. Well, like who cares? That's fine. But if it's not good, but it's getting traction, or it's gotten released, or it's gotten a marketing campaign behind it stuff because of those elements I just said, not because it's any good. Yeah. Well, now you've missed it.
Well, I think the decline of the significance or the influence of the Sundance Film Festival is 100% due to the fact that they put identity above quality, and that applies to
a lot of film festivals started doing that. And I mean, maybe those film festivals felt like they were doing a good thing or helping, but see, this is where I diverge from the idea of helping somebody, like at the Creative 23 Film Festival, like we don't look at who the director is until after, maybe. We just look at the film. I don't care. And the other programmers, like, we don't care if you're black, white, short, tall, fat, you had a difficult upbringing or not. I mean, not to make it sound cold, but like, I just don't give a shit. I mean, I'm sure your friends do and all, but like our purpose is, at the film festival is to find great films. So if your film's great and all those things are true, you had a hard life and you are short and tall and black and white or whatever, all of it. Okay, whatever. But you made a great film. Your film's in because you made a great film. Your film isn't in because you made some film about a cause or because you are the list of personal challenges you have. I don't know. I'm just looking at your film. I'm just looking at the output of your talent. I'm interested in your talent. And maybe if we become friends, I'll be interested in those other things, but I'm just interested in your talent. Let me see your talent. And when you do that, what's interesting? When you do that, you naturally get a completely diverse group of filmmakers.
Organically.
Older, younger. Yeah. It happens naturally because talent isn't looking around when people are born, isn't looking around and picking, making sure that they have types, or it doesn't work like that. You get talent dropped into you as creative talent dropped into you, and your talent doesn't care, your morphology doesn't care what you look like. It doesn't care if you were fat, tall, gay, blind, just doesn't give a shit. And neither do your opportunities. It's only ourselves that keep us from opportunity. We see this a lot as people get older too. They go, I can't, I can't, I'm not a young man anymore, or whatever, you know. I mean, unless you're talking about like going and playing football or something, and you know they're going to get like a little injured. But I don't mean like that. I mean like, but like there's an opportunity right in front of you, and people all the time will go like, "Oh, I can't. I'm too fat right now, or I'm too this, or they don't like women, or they don't like blacks, or they don't like." I don't know. Your opportunity doesn't seem to care. Just go forward. Go forward. So, yeah.
It's funny. We did a whole series about Disney, Disney animation going through this process, and it wasn't that there wasn't enough. They wanted to hire more diverse people. They wanted to hire more women, but they weren't hiring the ones with the skills to do the job. They were hiring the ones that were the loudest and had more, wanted to be at the table rather than have the talent and earn that right to be at that table.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's unfortunate. I mean, sometimes it takes, if you really, it's kind of like colleges, and they go like, oh, we want to make sure that we let in enough, I don't know, whatever their quotas are or whatever they've got like that. And you go like, all right, but you could instead, and a lot of colleges do have this, you could instead, and I always find it's like you're avoiding the more challenging aspect of this, because like the college thing, when I say some colleges have people that go out to all of these schools and find kids that are doing incredible work, and they don't really, they're not even, maybe some of these kids aren't even thinking about applying to the college that person represents, because they just assume they'll never get in, you'll never be able to afford it or anything like this. And you make a list. I found this kid who is kicking ass at this inner city school in spite of everything. And I think we should, give him a shot. He didn't even
giving people a chance who couldn't in other ways get that chance.
But you didn't just grab someone who looks like that kid and say, we're going to give you a chance. You got somebody who's already hustling like his life depended on it. And you're like, hey man, I see what you're doing. This is your next move. So, you know what I mean? Like there's a difference. And anyway, I mean, I don't, I'm just talking about some imaginary situation, if it's like, I'll say this, there was a period where a few years ago where they were saying like, oh, you just got to give more women directors chances. You just gotta give them funding. You just gotta, make it happen for them and stuff. And I was like, not really into that. Like, I'm like, listen, I've got my path. I mean, I don't want to be not considered for something I'm qualified for only because I'm female. Like, yeah, that would be kind of a bummer. But there are challenges the challenges in my path, like taking a long time to get funding for something or whatever, right? Where I've been like, in tears, just go like, what the fuck do I do next? Like, I'm like fucking out of ideas. Like, God, if this is what you want me to do, like, do something, because I don't know what to do anymore. I've exhausted all of these. But here's the thing with all of these challenges that are in my path, it's actually training, especially for a director, because the minute you're on a set, you're in charge of everything. And if you haven't been challenged up to that point, it's like Olympic athletes. If you haven't had challenges in the qualification trials before you got to the event, you're going to suck. What are you going to deliver? I have to have challenges. I have to have challenges from men, women, whoever I have to have challenges with men who are, because they're insecure, they're trying to make me feel less than, or, women do this too. It's not men didn't corner the market on that. They try to make you feel less than. And I'm glad to have those opportunities to become kind of bulletproof, because when I get on a set and I've got a clock ticking and a bank account, a budget dwindling every day, I have got to be able to withstand any kind of attack like that I've got to be able to handle it with authority and grace and keep that film going and get my shots. So I think it's a mistake to say that, a bunch of people need a shortcut. I mean, if that's the case in, in any, we're just talking about imaginary situations, but I want opportunities, but I don't want shortcuts, because that'll limit some training that I might need when I get a bigger opportunity. You know what I'm saying? Like, those opportunities aren't going to stop coming. And if I am not getting the training necessary when that like bigger opportunity comes, I'm going to be sucking wind, I'm not going to be able to do it as well.